Unbelievable secrets, discovering Pompeii's 3AM brothel haunts, shocking truths revealed. Ancient ruins whisper secrets, but nothing prepared Julia for the spine-chilling revelations lurking in the shadows of Pompeii. As midnight struck, the air thickened, crackling with strange energy, a promise of hidden truths and eerie encounters. An archaeological dig had unveiled a structure long thought to be a storage house, but locals believed it was something much more sinister, a brothel where souls once exchanged more than just glances. The chilling thought hung in the air like a ghost, prickling at her skin. Julia's footsteps echoed on the cobblestones, each step a heartbeat pounding in the stillness. The moonlight danced across crumbling walls, illuminating faded frescoes that depicted scenes of forbidden pleasure. The allure of secrets woven in the fabric of time lured her closer. She could almost hear the laughter and whispers of those who had visited centuries ago, their stories merging with the silence around her. The street seemed to shift, as if haunting shadows beckoned her deeper into the past. As she peered into the darkness, an undeniable chill wrapped around her. She felt a lump in her throat and tightness in her chest. It wasn't just the cold. It was a sensation, a warning that she was not alone. Suddenly, a distant noise echoed, a throaty groan mixed with the rustling of dust. Heart racing, she turned, scanning the empty streets, her breath hitching in her throat. Was it just her imagination, or was someone or something aware of her presence? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Julia held her breath, feeling her heart thudding like a drum in the deafening silence. That strange noise echoed again, clearer now, a low growl that sent shivers crawling down her spine. She could almost see shapes moving, flickering in the corner of her eye, figures that melted into the shadows as she turned. Something was trying to make its presence known, something she had yet to understand. The ancient earth beneath her feet felt alive, pulsing with stories of lust and lost lives, but the most chilling moment was yet to come. As she stepped closer to the brothel's entrance, the air shifted, thickening with palpable tension. An unearthly whisper brushed past her ear, just a breath, barely a sound, yet chilling enough to freeze the warmth of her breath. "Help me," it seemed to say, wrapping its fingers around her heart. A glimpse of figures, ancient and twisted, flickered in her mind, and Julia wondered, who had really been lost here? What dark truths awaited her on the other side of that threshold? Would she dare cross to find out? The threshold loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, as if it were a mouth ready to swallow her whole. Julia's instincts screamed at her to retreat, to flee from the palpable dread that choked the air. But that whisper, "Help me," echoed relentlessly in her mind. Was it desperation or an invitation? Her heart pounded, a painful pulse urging her forward. With trembling hands, she reached for the door, old and weather-worn. Could it really be a simple brothel? Or was it a wretched trap that had ensnared countless souls? Swallowing her fear, she pushed the door, its creak slicing the quiet like a knife. Darkness spilled out, enveloping her as she stepped inside. The brothel's interior was a bizarre mix of beauty and repulsion. Ornate mosaics lined the walls, depicting moments of ecstasy, yet the air smelled musty, as if the years had layered decay upon pleasure. Julia's pulse raced. Unraveling this history could hold terrifying revelations, and yet, she was drawn deeper. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the room, and the door swung shut behind her with a force that rattled the remnants of her courage. Julia spun around, but the flickering light from an oil lamp revealed only shadows dense and heavy, as if the very walls were alive, watching, waiting. In the corner of the room, she noticed a figure slumped against the wall. Her heart drummed wildly. It was a woman, dressed in tattered garments, hair matted and wild. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, Julia's breath caught. The woman's eyes were devoid of color, mere hollows of despair. "Please," the woman croaked, her voice a raspy whisper that sent chills through Julia's core. "Help me break the cycle." "What do you mean?" Julia replied, her voice trembling. The woman tilted her head, a macabre smile dawning across her face. "Here, the pleasures and pains intertwined souls are entwined in eternal longing." Before Julia could react, shadows flared around the woman. The air crackled. Figures flickered in and out, twisting into grotesque forms of bygone lovers, locked in an eternal dance of despair. Her heart dropped as she understood the brothel had claimed them, trapping them in an endless loop of desire and regret. "Join us!" A chorus of voices sang, merging into a haunting melody that tugged at her very soul. Julia felt herself swaying, the weight of their stories pulling her closer to the darkness. Fear clawed at her throat, breath-catching. This was not just a historical discovery, it was a nightmarish reality where the lines of past and present blurred, threatening to consume her. Fighting the urge to submit to the enchantment, she clutched her chest, her heart racing so fast it felt like it might burst. "No. I can't," she gasped, stepping back. The shadows recoiled, their whispers transforming into anguished cries. The woman's hollow eyes locked onto Julia, pleading. "Help me," and it set us free. In that instant, a realization hit her. What if she could uncover the truth that kept them captive? If she found the source, the heart of this evil, perhaps she could save them all, including herself. But as the shadows surged forward, threatening to engulf her entirely, one question echoed through her mind, louder than all the others: was she prepared to take that risk, to unearth secrets that could shatter everything she knew? With dread pooling in her gut, she clenched her fists, ready to face whatever lay beyond the veil of terror. Would she discover more than just the truth of the brothel? Or would the ancient forces ensnare her, trapping her alongside the lost souls forever? The shadows lunged, swirling like a tempest around her. Julia's vision blurred, the room spinning as the echoes of desperate cries clawed at her sanity. Panic surged, causing her breaths to come in sharp gasps. She had to move, to push through the darkness that threatened to envelop her once more. In the midst of the chaos, a flicker of determination sparked within her. "Leave me be!" she shouted, her voice cracking but resolute. The words seemed to slice through the oppressive weight of despair, and for a moment, silence enveloped her. The shadows hesitated, the sorrowful faces shifting with uncertainty. Julia could feel their anguish, raw and powerful, but their plea for liberation was overshadowed by the fear that gripped her heart. She stepped back, each movement slow and deliberate, trying to regain her composure. "Where is the source?" she breathed, her voice trembling yet firm. "Show me how to set you free." The woman in tattered garments blinked with a flicker of life, the colorless void of her eyes deepening with an urgency that resonated in Julia's chest. "You must find the keeper," she rasped, her voice barely a whisper now. "Only he knows." The keeper. The name resonated with an ancient authority, an undercurrent of something sinister. But as shadows swirled around her like living smoke, Julia couldn't deny the need to uncover this keeper's truth. "Where is he?" Julia demanded, her voice rising above the discord. "Follow the music, it leads to him," the woman whispered, her form beginning to fade into the darkness. "But be cautious, he weighs your soul against his secrets." A sharp chill shot through Julia as the woman's figure dissolved, leaving her alone with the thrumming tension of unanswered questions. The flickering oil lamp cast eerie patterns on the walls, the scandalous mosaics seeming to pulse with life. One in particular caught her gaze: a man and woman locked in an embrace, trapped in an eternal moment of passion. Julia's heart raced, she recalled the stories she'd heard, whispers of lovers lost in these very walls. What if they too had tried to escape? Her instincts screamed to leave, but an anchor of curiosity held her in place. She had a mission now, a thread woven into the fabric of this eternal cycle. The muffled sounds of music began to filter through the air, haunting yet strangely beautiful, inviting. It beckoned her like a siren's call, each note echoing through the dark halls of the brothel. With renewed resolve, Julia turned toward the sound, her feet moving as if drawn by an invisible force. As she stepped deeper into the heart of the brothel, the shadows receded, morphing from sinister phantoms to faint memories reaching out from the past. Yet, she felt another presence, something cloaked in a deeper darkness, waiting for her, watching her every move. The music grew louder, a sobering juxtaposition to the weight of despair that hovered in the air, vibrating with energy. It wound through the narrow corridor like a living entity, leading her closer to the keeper. As she approached a heavy curtain draped across a doorway, her pulse quickened. What she might find beyond it, truths, dangers, perhaps even the freedom of lost souls, sent a thrill of dread and exhilaration through her. With a deep breath, Julia pushed the curtain aside, heart in her throat. What lay beyond could change everything, but the answer perched on the edge of discovery pulled her forward. Just as her eyes adjusted to the dim light beyond, another whisper brushed against her ear, almost a warning. It was there, lurking in the shadows, a dark anticipation that made her skin crawl. What awaited her? And would she have the strength to confront the keeper and his secrets, or would the seductive grip of the past tighten its hold yet again? The tension hung thick in the air, and Julia knew she had crossed into a realm where each choice could seal her fate as much as it could save her. The air was thick, almost suffocating, as Julia stepped through the heavy curtain. The music flooded her senses, wrapping around her like a lover's embrace, yet tinged with melancholy. It wasn't the lively beat she had expected. Instead, it droned like a mournful elegy, one that spoke of lost hopes and forgotten dreams. Each note carried an urgency that made her pulse race. Before her stood a dimly lit room, the shadows flickering wildly, as if caught in a dance of despair and regret. The walls glittered with shards of glass, reflecting the soft light from candles placed haphazardly across every surface. They cast sinister shapes that twisted and coiled, and for a fleeting moment, Julia wondered if they were alive. In the center of the chamber, seated at an ornate piano, was a figure shrouded in darkness. His fingers moved effortlessly over the keys, creating music that reverberated through Julia's bones. She felt both drawn to him and repulsed. The keeper. This had to be him. "Who are you?" she called, voice steadier than she felt. He turned slowly, his face remaining veiled in shadow. "I am the keeper of these stories, and of those lost souls," he replied, his tone smooth but laced with an edge of menace. "You seek truths that may seal your fate. Are you prepared to bear the weight of knowledge?" The echo of his words washed over her like cold water. She hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to retreat, but a deeper yearning held her fast. "I have to know," she declared, her voice firm despite the tension coiling in her chest. "I've come too far." A slow, almost imperceptible smile spread across his lips, though it never reached his eyes. "Very well," he said, his fingers still dancing across the piano keys. "But remember, knowledge comes at a price." As he played, the air around them shimmered, memories erupting like vivid illustrations stitched into the fabric of the room. Julia gasped as scenes unfolded before her, glimpses of ecstatic faces entwined in passion, hearts broken under the weight of betrayal, promises whispered with a fervor quickly forgotten. Shattering moments that led to overwhelming sorrow. "Do you see?" the keeper asked, his tone dulcet and enticing. "These walls have tasted ecstasy, but they have also witnessed despair. Each soul carries a burden. Are you ready to take up theirs?" Julia felt the weight of their stories pressing on her. She absorbed the pain, the guilt, and the heartache, a kaleidoscope of human existence flashing before her as she stood entranced. But in the corners of her mind, doubt crept in. What did he mean by price? "What must I give?" she breathlessly inquired. His gaze sharpened, and in that moment, she felt the pull of his desire to control her, to own her journey. "Your memories," he said, voice laced with honey and poison. "You must let go of your own past to free theirs. Will you strip yourself bare?" Julia's heart pounded. Could she sacrifice the core of who she was for the sake of souls long lost? She felt a lump rise in her throat, a sense of betrayal brewing against her heart. Yet the thought of freeing them, of breaking this eternal cycle, overshadowed her fear. "I'm willing to do what it takes." The music began to swell, rising to a fever pitch as shadows thickened around her, clawing and reaching, an almost sweet agony enveloping her senses. As the piano crescendoed to its climax, Julia closed her eyes, ready to trade her past for the future of those who had suffered within these walls, but just as she prepared for the plunge into the abyss, something stirred in the depths of her soul. An unfamiliar voice, familiar yet distorted, whispered warnings of lost identity, of consequences that could ripple far beyond this moment, aimed at her heart. Stop! The word escaped her lips before she could think. The keeper's expression darkened, surprise flickering across his face. What is it you truly fear, Julia? He leaned closer, his eyes now glinting with menace. Your fright or the truth that lies beneath? Ahead lay a choice she hadn't seen coming, threads of her heart and soul dangled precariously before her. What awaited this confrontation was uncertain, but Julia had crossed a threshold, and now every heartbeat echoed with the call of destiny that had only just begun. And as the shadows deepened, mingling with the weight of her decision, a flicker of hope sparked within her. What truth would flicker to life in the hands of the keeper, and could she hold on to her sense of self amidst the chaos around her? The shadows quivered around Julia, a living entity, inching closer as if they craved her submission. She faced the keeper, wrestling her own impulse to flee with the electric pull of curiosity. This was a test, she sensed. Not just of her willingness to learn, but of her very identity. Fear, she finally whispered, her throat dry. That I'd lose myself forever. The keeper studied her, a predator sizing up a bewildered prey. And what if the truth reveals a side of you that remains veiled even to yourself? You might find that the pain you cling to defines you more than the memories you wish to discard. Julia felt her heartbeat. Each thud echoed her uncertainty. What could be lurking in those uncovered truths? Would releasing her memories allow her to become something greater, or would it strip her of everything she had ever known? It's not just the act of giving away memories, she said, the words spilling out unbidden. It's what they mean to me. Intelligent. His voice was silky, tantalizing, yet laden with an edge. He tilted his head. What if I told you one of these memories holds the key to your own existence? Would you still sacrifice it? That struck hard. An icy finger traced down her spine. What do you mean? She demanded, her voice firmer now, fueled by a sudden surge of resolve. Every soul has a tether, something that connects them to their essence, he replied, fingers still dancing over the keys, a haunting melody unfolding. Those lost here are not simply memories. They are echoes of your own life. Julia's breath caught. Could it be that the stories contained within the walls weren't just others' burdens, but were intricately linked to her path? Was the truth this keeper wielded tied to her own existence? Then, suddenly, the shadows around her flickered, whispering secrets in a language long forgot, chilling her to the bone. Visions swirled, fragments of past lives. Faces of laughter turned to screams, love twisted to horror. She staggered back, her hand instinctively reaching for something, anything to ground her amidst the chaos. Among those visions was a face she recognized, but the familiarity chilled her heart. A figure watching from a distance, aglow with sorrow. Is that? She started to ask, but the keeper's smile silenced her. Ah, you remember. He leaned back, reveling in her amazement. The question is, who is really bound by whom? Are you tied to the past, or is it the past that is tethered to you? We're all tied to each other, she said, the word coming out as a breath, not fully formed in her heart. But what does it matter? Knowing this only deepens the cost. Precisely. The keeper leaned forward, his eye contact intense under the half-light. Let us not forget the offer on the table. Would you trade your sense of self, your memories, for the truth behind these souls? Or perhaps you might prefer the gentle embrace of ignorance, keeping the tether bound? Tension thickened, and Julia's head spun. Every instinct screamed at her to pull away, yet the truth tempted her closer. The layers of her own identity felt like they were slipping through her fingers like sand. Could she handle the consequence of such a bargain? Julia, the keeper's voice hummed, soft yet powerful. Time is fleeting. Choose wisely, and choose quickly. The air shifted, the temperature plummeting. The revelation swirled around her, an almost palpable weight, encouraging her to confront herself. Ignoring the storm building within her, she took a step closer. And as she did, a creeping warmth began to fill the room, hinting at familiarity, urging her to delve deeper. But was that warmth true, or just another layer of the keeper's cunning trap? The music crescendoed, and right then, a distant scream shattered the fragile silence, echoing off the walls like a warning. What if the truth she sought was more dangerous than she ever imagined? What would she discover if she chose to dive deeper into darkness? The choice loomed before her like an endless chasm, and as Julia braced herself, the shadows began to shift once more, revealing a hidden passageway she had not seen before. What lay beyond that threshold? Would she still be Julia on the other side? Or would she find the truth ripping apart the soul she had fought so hard to cling to? Julia's heart raced as she peered into the dimly lit passageway. The air was thick, clinging to her skin like a wet blanket, and whispers curled around her ears, teasing, tempting. Beyond lay the unknown, and she could either brave it or retreat into familiar darkness. The keeper's gaze felt like a brand against her skin, urging her to step forward. "Follow your instinct, Julia," he said, his voice low and syrupy. Each word lingered like a promise. "This path will lead you to the truth." Something about his tone sent a shiver down her spine, an icy warning that held more weight than the shadows. Tethered to her decision, she hesitated, then swallowed hard, pushing through the dread. What awaited her might either shatter her or set her free, but staying would mean living in the confines of ignorance, wrapped in a fragile cocoon she feared would strangle her. Just as she took her first step, a writhing mass of darkness surged around her feet, attempting to pull her back. The shadows begged her to surrender, to give in to fear, but she gritted her teeth and pushed forward, determined to face whatever lurked ahead. The shadows hissed, turning as they slithered away, revealing the pathway filled with a faint, eerie glow. As she descended deeper, the walls pulsed softly with a luminescent hue, illuminating fragments of memories, echoes of laughter merging into cries of despair, warmth turning cold with every passing second. Her senses surged, and she felt almost tangible threads of each story tug at her, yearning for her attention. A sudden chill swept through the corridor as the keeper whispered, "Here lies the essence of those lost souls. Their truths can heal you, or they can consume you." Voices started to swirl around her. They were low at first and then crescendoed into an agonizing roar of souls crying out, trapped yet so close. Julia covered her ears, panic tightening her chest. Clarity struck. These weren't mere memories, they were lives, experiences intertwined like a web of hurt and hope. "Enough!" she shouted, the sound ripped from her throat, anchoring herself against the madness. The wall of noise receded slightly, revealing a faint voice amongst the cacophony, sharp and clear, a plea for help. "Help me," it echoed, and Julia's heart seized. She pressed her back against the wall for support, gasping for breath. As the world around her pulsed and shifted, she focused on that voice. Who could it belong to? Why did it feel as if it were calling directly to her? Steeling herself, she ventured further into the passageway. Each step felt like she was crossing a boundary into a realm where she no longer recognized herself. The shadows fluttered and danced, almost alive, urging her forward. With each step, the voice grew more distinct, more desperate. "What do you seek?" it whispered, both a question and a challenge. Julia shivered at the intimacy of the inquiry. "Truth!" she shouted, her voice ringing in the silence like a battle cry. "Then seek me, and unravel the bond that binds you," the voice beckoned, resonating through her bones. "But be warned, the cost may be greater than you can bear." Julia's stomach twisted. She wanted to turn back, to close her eyes against the beckoning shadows, but the thrill of the truth compelled her, lured her deeper. What awaited her on the other side? Was it salvation or further descent into madness? As she neared the whispering presence, shadows thickened, blocking her path. The light flickered as if it sensed her hesitance, threatening to extinguish. And just as she reached out to push through the veil, the light flared, revealing a shimmering image beyond the darkness, a face she longed to recognize and feared to confront. Julia, it whispered, a name wrapped in recognition but shadowed by sorrow. Her heart constricted. Would this be the key to her past, the truth that would either complete her or obliterate the very essence of who she was? The air crackled with electricity, laden with suspense. The echoes intensified, escalating to a point where Julia felt she might scream, but she couldn't stop now. Not when. This moment held the potential to change everything. As she braced to leap forward, the keeper's voice cut through the tension like a knife. The choice was only the beginning, Julia. What follows will test you in ways you cannot yet comprehend. What was waiting beneath the surface of her own heart? And would it condemn her to a fate worse than darkness? With courage ignited, she plunged deeper into the unknown, the shadows swirling around her in a frenzy. But would she find the truth, or would she be consumed by it? Julia's vision blurred as she braced herself to cross the threshold, her heart pounding against her ribcage. The voice that called her name sent ripples of confusion and longing through her. Who was it that loomed so closely in the shadows? She took a deep breath, steeling her resolve. As she stepped through, the air shifted dramatically, becoming colder, more alive. The shadows retreated, unveiling a small, circular chamber that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Walls dripped with vibrant hues of deep reds and purples, alive with swirling patterns that seemed to shift and breathe. The atmosphere vibrated with energy, humming like a slowed-down heartbeat. In the center of the chamber stood a figure, luminously bright, casting an iridescent light through the dark. Julia squinted, desperate to make out the features. As the figure turned, her breath caught in her throat. There it was, the familiar face she had longed to see, yet had been terrified to find, her mother. Julia, her mother's voice flowed like silk, smooth and warm, but there was an undercurrent of something else. Fear? Regret? Julia couldn't quite pinpoint it. Mom. Julia's voice cracked, the words spilling out as a mixture of joy and disbelief. But the warmth quickly dissipated as a chilling realization struck her. What was this place? Why did her mother appear like a ghost bound in this prison of colors? Why are you here? Julia demanded, her tone fierce. After years of searching for answers about her mother's disappearance, she felt the hope swell and twist within her, battling against the dread. Because you must understand. The truth you seek comes with choices that echo through the ages, her mother replied, her luminous form flickering like a candle threatened by a wind. But heed my warning, some truths are best left buried. No. Julia fired back, her heart racing with urgency. You can't just tell me that then hide away. Why did you leave me? What happened to you? Anger and pain twisted together, coursing through her like molten lava. Her mother's expression softened. It was to protect you. The world outside my choices brought darkness. I thought I could shield you, but instead, I lost you. As she spoke, the walls responded, swirling violently, echoing Julia's turmoil. With each word, shadows crept closer, merging with her mother's light, threatening to snuff it out. I found the truth, Mom. Julia shouted, desperation filling her voice. You were studying the darkness, weren't you? The keeper, he's involved in all of this. You knew. You couldn't just run away from it. The figure flickered again, her mother's face a mask of conflict and sorrow. You don't understand. The keeper, he lures people to the darkness. I thought I could master it, but it consumed me. Now it seeks you. The chamber vibrated with a sudden pulse, sending a shockwave that knocked Julia back. She fought to keep her footing as the glow shivered, losing its strength. What do you mean it seeks me? She cried, panic surging through her veins. You must choose. Her mother's voice rose above the chaos. You can either embrace the truth, or you can walk away, but know it will always haunt you. The shadows thickened, enveloping Julia as she stood at the precipice of time, her future hanging in the balance. Would she confront her family's dark legacy, risk being consumed by it, or walk away and silence the relentless echoes in her heart? She felt the walls begin to close in, the warmth of her mother flickering like a dying ember. With a cry that split the air, Julia made her decision. As the darkness surged toward her, she reached out, not just with her hands, but with her spirit. I choose the truth. The moment her voice echoed through the chamber, the shadows shrieked, writhing in agony as the air howled. Whether it was a breakthrough or a descent into madness, Julia was too enveloped in the consuming darkness to tell. Suddenly, everything collapsed around her, swirling into a vortex. The last thing she encountered before losing her grasp on consciousness was her mother's anguished face. Julia. No. Then, silence. What awaited her on the other side of this plunge into the unknown? Would she emerge as the bearer of a newfound truth or become yet another lost soul wrapped in shadows and sorrow? When Julia opened her eyes, it was to a world that twisted and shimmered like a mirage. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. She lay on a slate floor, the coolness seeping into her skin, igniting a sense of disorientation. Where had the chamber gone? What had she chosen? Around her, the shadows pulsed with a life of their own, shifting as if they were sentient beings. The colors that had vibrated so brightly now dulled into muted tones of gray. A distant scream echoed, warping into a mournful wail. Julia struggled to her feet, her heart a relentless drumbeat in her chest. Mom! She called out, her voice breaking. The name hung in the air, circling in the gloom, reaching for something that felt just out of grasp. She looked around, longing for the warmth of her mother's glow, but all that surrounded her was dense silence and creeping darkness. It was suffocating, and panic crept in like a thief. What had she done? A flicker of light drew her attention. Julia turned, squinting against a sudden brightness that sliced through the dark. It swirled and pulsed, forming into shapes people. Figures shrouded in shadows, their faces obscured, loomed at the fringes of her vision. Julia one whispered, the voice a ghostly echo that sent shivers down her spine. Who are you? She demanded, her tone laced with fear. What do you want from me? They drew closer, tangible and yet intangible, their features blurring like smoke in the wind. You are chosen, Julia, another voice said, this one dripping with an eerie sweetness that made her skin crawl. You must know the truth. The memories of her mother's warnings flooded back. They echoed through her mind. Some truths are best left buried. But she had chosen the truth. Now, she couldn't back down. What truth? She asked, trying to steady her trembling hands. What do you want me to understand? The shadows danced around her, chanting, embrace the darkness, embrace the shadows, embrace your fate. Fear gripped Julia. I don't want this. She shouted, stepping back, but the figures surged forward, filling her view, their eyes burning like embers on the edge of destruction. They began to merge, creating a single entity, a monstrous figure bursting forth from the interpretable chaos. Your mother sought to control me, the figure boomed, its voice a rumble of thunder. But she failed. You will not. You will join me. Julia felt her heart stop. Memories rushed back, not just of her mother but of whispers shared between shadows. How her mother had desperately tried to resist, to shield her from something larger than them both. She felt the walls of identity close in, squeezing her, pushing her towards the looming entity. No. She screamed, shaking her head, I want to be like her. I want to give in. With a surge of determination, she pictured her mother's face, the love beneath the fear, and reached into the depths of her own spirit. I choose to fight. She roared, her voice breaking through the shadows. I will not be consumed. The figure recoiled, the shadows faltering, their whispers growing frantic. In that moment, something deep within Julia ignited a spark of resilience that drew from both her pain and her hope. She felt a pulse of light building within her, radiant and unyielding. As she stood her ground, she could feel the darkness coiling around her, but she would not yield. Then, a fissure tore open in the air, revealing a blinding light. It beckoned, a siren-esque call filled with warmth and promise. What lay beyond? Was it salvation or further peril? Step into the light, Julia. A voice urged, reminiscent yet unfamiliar, a voice filled with unyielding strength. Caught between the dread of the shadows and the allure of the light, Julia took a deep breath. This was her moment. Should she leap into the unknown, join the shadows, or embrace the truth that awaited? She made her choice, stepping forward toward the blinding flash as the darkness roared behind her. Then, everything shattered once more. What revelations awaited her beyond the light? And would she be able to control the truth she sought? The light engulfed Julia completely, a searing warmth that felt both foreign and familiar. She was weightless, floating in a sea of brilliance. For a moment, the chaos fell silent, and the world of shadows faded away. She felt hope flooding her veins, each pulse resonating like the beat of a distant drum, but then, like a wave crashing against the shore, the brilliance shifted. As the light faded, she found herself tumbling onto a hard surface, her breath knocked out of her. Julia gasped, scrambling to regain her bearings. She was in a strange room. The walls were lined with ancient stone, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something distinctly metallic. Flickering torches cast dancing shadows, and her heart raced as she peered into the corners. "Where am I?" she whispered, still shaken from the sensory onslaught. "Welcome," a voice called out, smooth yet chilling, as cold as ice on her back. Julia turned quickly, her eyes wide. The source of the voice stepped into view, a figure cloaked in dark, intricate folds that blended with the night. Their face was shrouded in shadow, only their eyes glinting with an unsettling light. "Who are you?" Julia demanded, anger replacing her retreating fear. "A guide," the figure said casually, as if they were sharing tea instead of standing amidst the eerie confines of a forgotten realm. "A messenger, if you will. Your journey has just begun." "Journey?" The word hung between them like a chasm. "I just escaped. I fought against the darkness." The figure chuckled, a sound that echoed with an unsettling familiarity. "Escape? My dear child, the shadows are not gone. They merely wait for you." Julia's skin prickled. "What do you mean? Where are my mother's warnings?" "Here, in this place." The cloaked being gestured toward a massive stone door behind them. It bore intricate carvings, twisting images of agony and ecstasy intertwined. "You must face your past." "What?" Julia's breath hitched as she stepped closer, instinctively drawn to the door. The carvings seemed to shift, whispering secrets and forgotten stories. "I don't want to." But it was too late. The door creaked, and the figure nudged it open. A gust of wind rushed out, enveloping her in a shroud of chilling whispers. She stepped back, but the shadows danced around her, wrapping tighter with every heartbeat. "Your truths lie beyond, Julia. Enter, and discover why you were chosen," the figure urged, their voice a porcelain mask hiding deep intent. Julia's heart raced. The choice between fear and revelation spread before her like a vast sea. It was the same choice she had faced with the blinding light. An urge surged within her, a furious need to unravel what had been hidden for so long, to confront whatever lurked in this world she never fully understood. With shaky hands, Julia stepped forward, her resolve hardening. She pushed through the door, the chilling air gripping her like a vice. On the other side lay a cavern lit by the dim glow of luminescent stones. The walls were covered in familiar symbols, her mother's drawings, echoes of her past, twisted tales of their lineage. Suddenly, a scream pierced the silence, reverberating through the space. Julia's heart dropped. "Mom!" She cried out, but the echoes taunted her, intertwining with the groans of despair. With each step deeper into the cavern, shadows darted past her, whispering secrets that chilled her to the bone. She felt the connection to her mother strong yet fragile. "Face it, Julia," the figure's voice floated in the stillness, filling the air like smoke. "Everything is about to change." In that moment of turmoil, she understood. The truth wasn't just waiting for her, it was ready to unravel her very existence. As she ventured deeper, the shadows began to close in, and she realized she wasn't just exploring her family's past. The darkness had its own story, intertwined with hers in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. What dark truths would she uncover? And would they lead her to the light or consume her entirely? Julia pressed forward, trembling but resolute, her heart pounding like a war drum against her ribs. The shadows twisted around her, whispering secrets and broken promises as she descended deeper into the cavern, where each step felt weighted with expectation. The air grew heavier, steeped in the musty scent of ancient memories. Familiar symbols danced along the walls, whispering echoes of her mother's art and the history that had long been buried. As she ventured deeper, the flickering glow of the luminous stones illuminated glimpses of her lineage, her mother's struggles, the contracts made in desperation, the choices that had led to heartache and sorrow. "Julia," a voice broke the silence, soft yet laced with urgency. She spun around, breath caught in her throat. It was her mother, her figure shimmering but defined, hovering just beyond the shadows, half-formed yet unmistakably present. "Mom!" Julia stepped forward, her voice breaking, filled with a mix of longing and fear. "I found you." After all this time, but the smile on her mother's face faltered, filled with an ache that shattered Julia's heart. "You should not have come here, my love. This place holds truths that are not meant for the living. I have to know." Julia cried, desperation overpowering her fear. "I can free them, I can free you. Just tell me how." The shadows stirred, feeding off her anguish, swirling closer. "You are tied to their pain, Julia. You must learn to confront it," her mother urged, pulling her in with an unseen force. The moment hung, taut with a grip on time, and as Julia's breath caught once more, the air shifted. The cavern walls pulsated with a life of their own, shadows turning into torturous specters, whispering of deeds done in darkness. "Face your fate, Julia," the ethereal presence of her mother intoned, sorrow heavy in her voice. "Only in accepting the truth do we find our liberation." With courage surging in her veins, Julia prepared herself. "I choose to know," she shouted, the words igniting the shadows that recoiled as if stung. The room resonated with the power of her declaration, shaking the very foundations of the space that in an explosion of light, memories flooded in, a wave of images and sounds crashed over her, searing her soul. She saw her mother as a young woman, consumed with the pursuit of shadows. Attempts to control them spiraled into chaos, binding her to the keeper, a prisoner in her own quest for knowledge. The pain unleashed echoed in anguished cries, lovers separated by their choices, despair entwining with desire. "Julia!" The keeper's voice thundered, an undeniable presence in the sea of chaos. "You are more than a mere vessel. You are the key. Your lineage has carried burdens, and now, it is your turn to anchor this darkness or destroy it." Julia felt the weight of her existence plunge deep into her core. Anger flared within her. "I won't let this continue. I will break the cycle." The figures in the shadows hissed, their features morphing into versions of herself, battling to gain control. "You cannot control what you don't know," they shrieked, clawing at her mind. "No." Julia fought back, channeling every iota of strength she held, focused on the love she felt for her mother, the mistakes of the past blending into the present. "I choose to embrace my truth. I am not afraid." As her voice pierced the darkness, her surroundings shifted and whirled. Barriers broke, the energy rippling with the force of her determination. It was overwhelming, the shadows dissipating, some revealing sorrowful faces, entrapped in the cycle of despair, begging for release. "Let them go!" Julia screamed, casting her heart into the maelstrom. "You are no longer bound to me." With that declaration, golden light burst forth from her chest, flooding the cavern, dispelling the shadows that flickered and twisted in fearful retreat. Her mother's spirit rushed forward, enveloping Julia, the warmth cocooning her in love. In that moment, the flickering figures lunged to escape, drawn away from the burden they had carried for so long. One by one, they shimmered away like ephemeral wisps of smoke, freed from the chains of the past. Light broke through the darkness as vibrant colors returned to the walls, history transforming into a tapestry of stories rather than shackles. The keeper writhed in fury, the edges of his form fraying as light confronted him. You think you can escape? I will always claim what is mine. Not anymore. Julia took a step forward, her voice steady and defiant. This cycle ends now. With that final vow, she severed the tether binding the darkness to her lineage, a literal crack splitting the air as it released its hold. The keeper howled, the shadows spiraled into oblivion, consumed by the brilliance of light that radiated from Julia's heart. As the brilliance enveloped her, the cavern faded, dissolving around her like a dream. With a gasp, Julia found herself again on that slate floor she first encountered, but the air was different now, lighter, filled with the overwhelming scent of renewal. Her mother's spirit hovered before her, heart-bound yet free, a soft smile gracing her lips. You did it, Julia, she whispered, ethereal yet powerful. You broke the cycle. Tears of joy filled Julia's eyes. Mom, I wished to know the truth, and I found you. I found us. Emboldened by that warmth, Julia felt whole. She hadn't just freed the souls of the past, she had embraced all that she was, shattering the shadows that haunted her lineage. The world around her shimmered, echoing with the laughter of the liberated. The past no longer chained her, it became a part of her, woven into the fabric of who she had become. Let us walk forward together, her mother said, stretching out her hand. Julia took it without hesitation, feeling the joyous weight of history blended with hope. Life would carry its challenges, but now, they were free to forge a path shaped by light, rather than darkness. And as they moved forward, she knew the bond of truth would carry them. The shadows were gone, replaced with bright new beginnings. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any more incredible stories like this one. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and let everyone see this powerful ending. And don't wait even one more second to flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. I want to hear all your reactions. Lastly, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this thrilling conclusion. Your support keeps this channel thriving.